And welcome back to JKLIVE Live here at Citizen Television. What an interesting show we're having today. We have the CEO of the EACC, Major Twalib Mbarak. I'm telling you, he's talking it like he sees it. It's been a tough, challenging job. But he says corruption and fighting corruption takes time. By the way, Patrick Njiru has just texted me and he says Twalib is an incredible guy. Congratulate him and thank you for your work. He's watching from Wajir.
Say hi to him.
I will. You will. He can hear you, by the way.
He's an old friend of mine.
Is that right? Yeah. Good guy, Patrick. Good guy. So, Major, I was asking you before the break. The other day, the president was in Western. I think it was Mumias, and he was talking about the sugar cartels. And he says, you know, at the end of the day, he says, "Mambo ni matatu, jela, Muhammad, au mwende binguni." Surely you must have a role to play in the first one, which is jela.
I think, first of all, we need to look at what the president said. Forget about the Mambo Matatu, but the president was showing the frustration of Kenyans in the key industries in this country. If you look at the sugar industry, it's full of cartels. If you look at the coffee industry, it's full of cartel. If you look at the tea industry, it's full of cartel. We had another industry from my home county, Kilifi, cashew nut. That one died because of cartels and corruption. So the sentiments made by the president is just, he was just trying to show the magnitude of the rot in those sectors. And they're causing a lot of havoc to the people. Because if you look at the Western Sugar Belt, Muhoroni, Chemelili, if you look at Mumias, Nzoia, all those sugar factories, they are down on their knees. And sugar is rotting in the field. Sugar is rotting. Let me give you a good example of a country that has got a very well-established sugar industry. And it's a very small country, but it produces a lot of sugar because of proper management and because of accountability. And this is what the president was talking about, Mauritius. Mauritius is a very small island, but it has very successful sugar industry. Sugar industry in this country has gone down, not because of other reasons. It's corruption, cartels, and mismanagement. And the president is trying to wipe out that problem. Because farmers went and said, you cannot privatize these industries. Because these industries, even under the hand of the government, this industry will make profit. Are we together? If you look at coffee, tea, the deputy president, he is trying to fight those cartels. It's all about corruption. And many organizations in this country, they are not doing well, not because they're not doing well because of bad business. It's about corruption. Why should Kenya Power be having financial problems when it has monopoly of distributing electricity? That's the question. Why? Why should we have, although this is not a public entity, why should Kenya Airways make losses? When you fly, all other airlines coming to Nairobi, they are full. If it is British Airways, Emirates, Qatar Airline, Ethiopian, Nairobi route is always full. Why should we be making losses? If you look at that, most of the time, it's about accountability and management. And this is the problem we have in this country. When we recruit people, we just look at two aspects. We look at education and skills. In Japan and the Orientals, when they want to give you responsibility, the priority number one is they look at integrity. My father was semi-illiterate, but he started a small duka. By the time he died, he had a 3-story building. He didn't build it using loan. He used to take soft loan from the hardware suppliers, and he will build and pay slowly out of trust. This is something Bishop Oginda was talking about yesterday. But today, you have a head of a state corporation. He has even a PhD. But the guy runs down the entity because he's not honest. And this is where we go. When we recruit people, we have to look at education, skills, and two main attributes: behavioral pattern and your background. You bring somebody to head a state corporation. This guy is a natural thief. From schools, he used to steal geometry set, sports shoes, everything. It is in the blood. So when he's stealing, he doesn't even know that he's stealing. He believes that he's taking something that belongs to him. Now you find state corporation come down. And that's why you find some state corporation in this country, when a certain guy comes in, it thrives. And then you're told, when this CEO left, this is the other CEO who messed up. I'll give you a good example of a company that I worked with, Kengen. Kengen is one of the biggest state corporations in this country. It has no issues because they get the right people there, right and competent people, and there's no interference. Also, the other thing is other attributes. Are you a coward? When you are being pushed by politicians to do shortcuts, do you succumb? If you are CEO EACC and somebody calls you and says, you know, we are going to sack you, tengeneza hii case, and you start panicking, what will happen? You run down the organization.
That's right.
But when somebody comes and say, this case, the only solution is one, what? Tell the guy to get good lawyers. Tukutane kotini.
Do you get threats?
Threats?
Yes.
I do get. But I'm not scared. I'm not a coward. In the military, we say, cowards die many times. And I'm not a coward. I'll not die. I'll die once, not many times. So those threats, I don't get scared.
But the cartels you mentioned, I mean, this is a totally different league here. And they've been around for decades. And they're difficult to crush.
You see, the cartels, you cannot say they have been around for decades. The lifespan of a human being is about 60 years. So which is this cartel? Maybe would you tell me that a cartel started with people who were 20 years and now they're 70, they're still cartels? Cartels come and they evolve. They evolve. And cartels are all over the world. Even if you go to US, you'll be told they're cartels. Mm-hmm. If you go to even a country like Brazil, you'll be told they're cartels. Cartels are everywhere, but you see, they need to be contained. They need to be contained. You get the point? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me something. Do you wish that the EACC had prosecutorial powers?
You know, Jeff, it's 11:15. I may require 1 hour to give you an explanation on that. And I'm sure maybe people want to sleep because tomorrow they have to report to work.
Exactly.
But I'll summarize that one. You see, if you look at the reason why the ODPP was given the power to prosecute, it is in the Constitution. First of all, it is in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. The reason why they were given those powers is because previously, police had investigation and prosecutorial power. What was the end result?
Oh, it's conflict of interest.
And very chaotic. Very chaotic.
Yeah.
Even in place of work, in the account office, they have what you call segregation of duty. This one handle cash, this one handle voucher, this one do examination, this one do internal audit, this one pays. If you don't do that, the end result will be collusion. So, as much as I will not tell you yes or no, I'll give you an explanation. Then when we leave this studio, you'll tell yourself whether we need prosecutorial power or not. Prosecutorial power, there's a country like Brazil. There's been a cat and mouse game being played where the first president, Lula, was jailed. And when he was jailed, he said the sitting president used the anti-corruption body because it had prosecutorial power to lock me. Now he's out, he's the president. The other guy is on the receiving end. Now, if you look at our political culture in this country, how would you look at our political culture? Is it refined, moderate, or is crude, according to you?
Crude.
Crude. With that crude political culture, do you think EACC should be given powers to prosecute? Because there's a danger, yeah. It helps to be given prosecutorial power. Our work will become much easier. But look at a wider political environment. First of all, for us to be given prosecutorial power, you need to change the Constitution. And it's not easy to change the Constitution.
Correct.
Maybe the dialogue that is going on now, they can decide to change and give us prosecutorial power. But then, if you give an anti-corruption body prosecutorial power, and you have said our politics is crude politics, tomorrow you have a regime that wants to stay in power by victimizing the opposition, It has happened in this country.
Yeah.
And then you have an anti-corruption body that has got investigative and prosecutorial power. You have a CEO who is a coward. When he's told, do this, he does that. What will happen?
Chaos.
Yeah. So prosecutorial power, they are good for the EACC, but they may have other consequences that you realize maybe it can cause more problems than good. So it's neither here nor there. It will be good. For me, I'll be very happy when you get a prosecutorial power. But look at it in the wider political environment. It can create another problem.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it in that way. Okay, we're going to go to the magic wall, Major, and see there's been lots and lots of reactions. So stand by. Let's take a look at the tweets, which have been coming in thick and fast. Sir Nixon Dugira says, what strategies has EACC adopted in the fight against corruption, and more so in the traffic section, where massive corruption is paving the way to either unroadworthy vehicles or driving malpractices leading to deadly accidents?
Oh, I have it. Do I answer immediately or?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, a very good question.
Yeah.
I see it. Sometimes I drive alone and I see live policemen taking bribe, live. The problem here, there's a long-term solution. Tanzania have now automated traffic offense. In Kenya, it is dragging, it is taking time. It's not about EACC, it's about streamlining the system. Once we automate the traffic offenses and you codify maybe 10 offenses, you just know as a motorist, offense number 3 is overlapping. Mm-hmm. Offense number 5 is speeding, where Kenya call it overspeeding, which is not an English vocabulary.
Exactly, it's not a word. Yes.
And even Kenya, they say overspeeding, and I'm surprised they have engineers there, but they don't know that is not English.
Yes.
This one is overweight. This one is unroadworthy. When you are arrested, if you are charged, you know that this offense I'm going to pay by M-Pesa and go. But what happens? Nobody is willing to implement that system. So what happens is that you are arrested, weka gari kando, let a license, bona hii, wait, and the process of charging you in Kenya is very, very cumbersome. You will be charged if you are driving to Mombasa and you will have to come back to Naivasha. So we have to streamline management of traffic offenses. 10 years ago, our MPs brought very punitive punishment for traffic offenders. We thought it was going to be a solution, but it's not a solution. It actually spiraled corruption in the traffic department, because the policeman will tell you, unajua kitu ni 5,000, eka 1,000, ama nitakuchora. You look at the sequences of how you'll be handled, the best option is for you to bribe. So unless we streamline this system, and that is not EACC, unless it is streamlined between NTSA and the traffic police. The other thing, within the police, if you drive from here to Naivasha, you find 10 police roadblocks.
Correct.
Are they necessary? They're not roadblocks, they're toll stations. Yeah. I would call them police toll station. You see them openly, if it is Maimahiu there with their big jackets and big tummies, they are collecting money. So the solution is not EACC. The solution is systems to be reviewed and to be streamlined.
Is that why they're going after?
I'll give you a good example. Long ago, for those of us who are old, long ago, if you are applying for passport, you had to queue 1 day at Nyayo House to pay to get the receipt. 1 day. Today there's e-citizen. So automation, which is part of our strategy, it is one way of addressing this kind of corruption. So the issue is not EACC, the issue is the system within the police and the traffic department. Today, policemen don't put on their numbers so that they cannot be identified by the public. Yeah. Traffic police, they put on masks pretending that they are shielding themselves from
Corona
fumes, but it's because they don't want to be identified when they're taking bribes. So I don't know whether we should go Nepal way, where the head of police said that anybody who is in the traffic police, the uniform will have no pockets. You can't even carry a mobile. No pocket for any traffic policeman. So it requires a multi-agency approach on addressing the police corruption. If you are saying EACC is to launch a sting attack on a policeman taking bribe, It's like somebody in a room full of mosquitoes and you decide to kill mosquitoes with your hands. You will not sleep the whole night. The best way is to put a net, put spray. So we need to streamline the system, regulate, automate the offenses, and people will have no way to bribe the policemen. Also, the public has a role, because we are also a Kiboko society. What I mean by Kiboko society, we want somebody always behind you to monitor what you are doing. So you break the law, and then you want to bribe the police. So the entire blame does not go to the police alone, even the public, because we are the ones who bribe these policemen.
Yeah. Tell me something. Why does it work in Rwanda then, for instance? Why do people drive and pay attention to public lights and rules and regulations, even borders?
Look here. I was in Rwanda. I saw it. I went for a meeting and I went to do some hiking at the Virunga Park. We were stopped 3 times. Rwanda, the culture. Rwanda, the speed is 60 kilometers per hour. When we stopped, and somebody had blocked us, and I told the guy, why don't you hoot? He said, here, if you hoot, you'll be arrested, because it's noise pollution. Look at Kenya. All matatus, they have horns like ships. 10 kilometers away, you'll know this is a matatu hooting. Nobody is talking about it.
No.
Nobody.
Yeah.
All matatus have got, they hoot. They have put those loud horns. If you have a kid in that matatu, I'm sure that kid one day will have some problem with the ears. Even those matatu drivers, they will have problems. But there's no enforcement. And Rwanda, you see, they follow their system.
Yeah.
People know the end result and have always given an example. There was a time I was in Qatar. I met a Kenyan driver. He said, he heard me speaking in Swahili. And he told me, habari yako mzee? I said, mzuri. Kijana unaitwa nani? He's a guy from Kisii, a young man from Kisii. He said, my name is so-and-so. Unafanya nini hapa? I'm a driver. What were you doing in Kenya? I was a matatu driver, Kayole route. Matatu driver? Kayole route. What do you expect with such a matatu driver?
Craziness.
Craziness, rowdy,
yes,
irrespective,
yes,
indisciplined, all kind of things. And I asked him, young man, how long have you been here in Qatar? He said, I've been here driving for 7 years. Then I asked him, have you been caught with any traffic offense? Sa mzee hapa, Warabu hataki mchezo. Ukifanya makosa kidogo, passport yako inapigwa red, unafukuzwa.
Wow.
So enforcement. So don't say a matatu driver is bad. This guy was a matatu driver in Kayole route. He has worked in Qatar for 7 years. He has never been caught by a single traffic offense, because the fellow know the consequences, yes, of committing a traffic offense. Yeah. Here, members of the public, they know that if I commit a traffic offense, I'll bribe the policeman and I'll get away with
Correct.
it. So you cannot blame EACC. We are all to take the blame. The public, the enforcement agency, the EACC, and everybody.
Everyone takes responsibility. Yeah. Okay, Amwai Brian says, corruption in this country takes a different form every time we feel like we are winning the fight. Sometimes the win looks like a publicity stunt. Is the war being won? Well, no, because then Chapter 6 would mean something in public office appointments. Yeah, Chapter 6 of the Constitution is something that everyone has completely ignored. Eh? Babu Michael says, ask Mr. CEO, what is their main objective and agenda? Do they foresee a corruption-free Kenya? If so, after how long? A year? A decade? Or will we just employ people to continue fighting corruption as others continue stealing all the years?
The first one was about...
it was just a comment. That was a just comment. This one's the one talking about corruption.
I wanted to comment on the first one.
Okay.
But unfortunately, corruption in the country is different.
There, that's the one.
Oh, let me talk about Chapter 6. I'm not a lawyer, but if you look at that Chapter 6 in the Constitution, that chapter is a toothless chapter. Because you remember when that draft was taken to Parliament, yeah, it had very good clauses, but it was diluted by the politicians deliberately. And they're not stupid, they're very clever, because they realized if they were to approve it the way it was, they were preparing a rope to hang themselves. Chapter 6 of the Constitution, today, when there is general election and EACC give names of people that we feel they should not be in the ballot box. The Constitution, ironically, protects those people. Article 99 of the Constitution says, a person will be barred from vying for public office if he has been convicted and all avenues of legal avenues are exhausted.
Yes.
Lower court, high court, court of appeal, Supreme Court. So it takes time. We have cases of serving MPs that we have charged using forged certificates. It took us one day to check with Kenya National Examination Council that this person has got forged certificate. The case is in court. It is now going to the 6th year. You find some of these MPs are serving their 2nd term. Maybe when they will be found guilty, they will appeal. By the time they appeal, they are serving their 3rd term. Once they lose the appeal, they'll go to the Supreme Court. By the time they go to the Supreme Court, they lose. They have served 4 terms and they are pensionable. And this is something you can take half a day. So you talked about Rwanda. Rwanda, once they know that your certificate is fake, the same day you'll be arrested. Maybe within a month you'll be jailed. Here, you know, you'll fool around with the law and drag the case and take even...
For 20 years.
Just to know whether somebody has got a certificate of Form 4. And you can just tell. Some of these certificates are very interesting. Jeff claims that he was in this school, and you find that the code of that school is for ladies. How did Jeff end up in that school? You know, simple things.
And they get away with it.
So the legal mechanism and the gaps in the Constitution, these are things that need to be looked on.
Goodness, so much.
Now we can go to the next question.
From corruption. Corruption. You think it's going to take a year, a decade, or will we just employ people to continue fighting corruption as others continue making money?
I can tell Michael that let me turn to spirituality. You know, my chairman is a bishop, and he has really induced me to sometimes do quoting. Although he's a Christian, I'm a Muslim. There's a verse in the Quran which says, God will only change people when they show willingness to change. So start by electing the right people, and then quite a number of things will change. Vote for the right MCA, vote for the right governor, and quite a number of these things will automatically die, because good leadership will give you a good service. I can see there's somebody from Makueni County, and I want to comment on Makueni.
Okay.
In the previous government, in the county government of Makueni, under Professor Kivuda Kibwana, there were a lot of development because he was a governor who was very accountable.
Yes.
So the people of Makueni voted for the right person, and they realized development.
Listen to what Moia says, Wambua. He says, I believe EACC has not made significant progress in combating corruption. My recent visit to the land office in Makueni County revealed that officials there are collecting cash from citizens in exchange for services without providing any official receipts. That's one person's point of view.
Now, it's a very complicated question, because what he's telling us, with our 200 investigators, the population of Kenya is 50 million. Assume that just 1% of 50 million are corrupt. Those investigators, and this is where the law needs to be amended, because in Britain, the Serious Fraud Office, which fights corruption, has got a threshold of what type of cases should be investigated. If we, with our allocation of money, we don't have enough money to go and move to every county and look at somebody who is taking 200 bob. All this can be addressed through what you call, and it is part of our strategy, automation of government and county services. All this will stop. Look at the judiciary. Judiciary today, they have made very high strides in terms of there was a vocabulary in judiciary, in the courts, file imepotea. Squeezy is no longer file imepotea because they have automated everything. So that vocabulary has disappeared. So all this system, and we went to Saudi Arabia for a visit. Saudi Arabia, they have automated everything with government, that even if you buy a button and you click in the system, you will see this button by county government was supplied by Jeff Koinange at this price. Everything except security procurement. So that is what we need to do. We need to automate government and county government on all matters that any coin that the government spend or receive can be just found through a click of a button. With automation, all these things will be okay. But to say that EACC will be going to every place, it will be impossible.
Sure. Kabisha Mwangi says, Oginde and Twalib led commission inspires many. The stumbling block for the success of the commission is the failure to prosecute high-profile economic crimes in both the national and county governments. They'll always fault you for that, you know that. Until that big fish that you call them is prosecuted, they'll never give you credit.
I think you see, when you're frustrated, I'm sorry to say that, when you're frustrated, sometimes you fail to reason. And it's human nature. When you act out of anger, out of frustration, you will not see anything good. I agree with what he writes. But unfortunately, he doesn't know the challenges that the ODPP is facing and the judiciary is facing. Capacity is the problem. Funding is the problem. So we need to enhance. And the ODPP has tried. You know, it moved from police, where police used to prosecute cases. And they came and they brought legal officers. And today, they have a very big number of lawyers. And what is there, all the system Nurdin set, and they're in place. He did a very good job on that. The only thing now is to enhance the capacity. Likewise, EACC is the same. As much as people ridicule us and they will even talk about we are not performing, your big question, huh? We are waiting for the results. Eh?
Yes.
Most likely it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yes.
Say they're not working. They're not this. But look at it this way. People are forgetting. EACC is now training DRC in forming an anti-corruption body. We assist Mozambique. We assist even a country like South Africa. We assist Southern Sudan. We have a body of African Association of Anti-Corruption Organization. They are forming training packages that African countries can send their officers to train. Kenya, EACC, we have been given the section that deals completely with asset tracing and asset recovery. They are saying in sub-Saharan Africa, EACC is the best. But people don't see that.
No.
And we are operating in a very scarce budget. Our budget, even the Auditor General, in his report, he wrote and said that the funding to EACC has stagnated and it is so retrogressive to the organization. Because even now, we've been given about 300-400 million on top. But Jeff, look at the way the shilling is dropping. Yeah. So things are becoming more expensive. That money will not be enough. And almost 30% of our money goes to operation. The rest is salary and other other support. Despite
your ROI, return on investment, which you said is 100.
Yeah, the return on investment in terms of what we have recovered.
Right.
If you look at some of the pieces of land that we have recovered, if we were to sell and pack it back to EACC, would be very far. But of course, it has to go back to the central government, so that the national cake can be shared by all government ministries, departments, and agencies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Major, I'm going to give you a last word going forward. You know, you've painted a picture of things. You know, a lot of frustration in your business, but there's still a lot of hope.
Yes.
According to you.
Go on. There's big hope.
Go on.
People say that the EACC is not working. People say that corruption is rampant in Kenya. I've taken some figures. You know, the US, in 2021, the US came with a strategy of how to fight corruption in America. Because for the first time in the history of USA, they have identified corruption and transnational corruption as a threat to national security. That is, threat to the United States government. In 2012, Italy formed an anti-corruption body after realizing that corruption is an offense that cannot be dealt by ordinary police or the enforcement agency, that is like the DCI. France formed an anti-corruption body in 2016. So Kenyans feel that it's only Kenya or the African countries that are corrupt. Corruption is a global problem. One scholar said, politics is like an engine, and the fuel that makes politics function is corruption. The Western world will call it lobby groups, this and that. You've had in Europe MPs being caught for being bribed to ask certain questions. Former French President Sarkozy, he was jailed for corruption. Corruption is everywhere. Even in US, corruption is there. So what is the way forward? Let us domesticate on the way we are going to fight corruption. How do we fight corruption? Let the political culture change. Let the public change their attitude, and let empower the enforcement agency. And out of that, we shall see progress in the fight against corruption. But thinking that corruption will be fought by an agency, one agency, we are wrong. I've always said that corruption is like a lifestyle disease. There's a role the doctor plays, there's the role the patient plays, and there's the role the community, the immediate family members play. If you're told you're diabetic, Jeff, God forbid, and then you're told now, watch a cakey, don't eat too much starch, stop drinking beer, maybe you love your bottle, and then these are the pills, exercise, you don't exercise, you don't take pills. When you go home, the fridge is full of wine and beer, you take everything, what will happen?
Dead.
Yeah, so EACC is the leading role, we have a role to play, the public has got a role to play, the political culture has got a role to play, just like Rwanda, and we have the enforcement agencies and the executive, they have their role to play. There is a future in this country. Most of the people that are watching me are young people. I can tell you very clearly, Jeff is my age mate. 30 years ago, this country, you could never imagine of arresting a minister or a permanent secretary or a chief executive officer. I remember long ago, we used to have what we call Auditor General State Corporation. And he will say, this state corporation, this money has been stolen. When the CEO is asked to write a report, he used to say, go in the State House. You just develop cold feet and you vanish. Today, you'll be arrested. Nobody will call you to ask you, why have you arrested this person? Nobody. So the tick in the fight against corruption is going in the right direction. I know the public is frustrated because that clock is moving very slowly, but it is moving in the right direction. And one day it will move very fast. Thank you.
The clock hasn't stopped, huh?
It has not. The battery is on.
Major, good to see you.
Thank you.
And all the very best.
Thank you.
And stay safe.
Thank you.
Retired Major Twalib Mbarak. He is the CEO of the EACC. Talking it like it is. It's all about you, folks. It starts with you and me fighting corruption. He mentioned Rwanda. I tell you, what a classic case. Why can't we get our act together? And not in 50 years, 100 years. We'll do it in less time. Maybe our lifetime. Maybe. Maybe not. Thanks so much for being a part of JKLIVE. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night. Good luck. Goodbye, September. See you in October.